Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Grit Talk Show, episode 21. And for those of you who do not know, Grit is a learning and development platform. And I'm really excited that next week we'll be launching a portal where if you're a coach, you can make your sales page, write about all the different coaching that you offer, your target audience, your assessment tools, your credentials. So I hope you can find real value from there, because you can even see client analytics, have your own calendar, and have your clients leave reviews for you. So really excited about that. In our Grit series, we cover the journey of different coaches. And Prajesh, who has been an integral part of the Grit community, we have him here today joining us from New Zealand. It's late over there, right, Prajesh? How are you?
Yeah, it's 8 o'clock. Thank you, Khadija. Yeah, it's not too late yet. It's all good. That's fantastic. Yeah.
Yes, so Prajesh is a mindset coach. He's recently gotten extended DIS certification, which we'll ask more about. And he is a master NLP practitioner. And the topic that he's chosen is very interesting. That is, what you say paves the way. So, Prajesh, what you say paves the way is a lot of times we have an internal dialogue that's continuously going on in us, and sometimes it's quite negative, and sometimes I don't know if it's ever positive for a lot of people, but we have no clue where all that negativity maybe is coming from. So what we're saying to ourselves, we're eventually probably voicing it as well, and that's affecting our everyday life too. What's the connection? Where do those thoughts, because they say thoughts become actions, and that's what we manifest as well. So where are all these thoughts coming from that we end up blurting out as well, and sometimes a negative and sometimes a positive way?
Yeah. Before I start, I just want to introduce myself. Kia ora koutou, everybody. Ko Matupa Te Maunga, ko Simplicity Awa, ko Zimbabwe Aho, ko Prajesh Tokingawa. Hi, everybody. My name is Prajesh, and thank you, Khadija, for welcoming me onto this amazing platform and for putting me on as a guest today. For those of you that haven't followed any of the other shows, I reckon you jump on and have a listen. So, yeah, I love the way you frame the start. What you say paves your way, and that has got two meanings. When I thought about the topic, I was like, hey, let's think about this here. There's two conversations happening every single day within us. So there's the outward conversation that we have with you or me, this conversation right here, and there's an internal conversation which you spoke about as well, which is happening internally. And sometimes most of the time it's our internal conversation that actually dictates what's happening in our lives. Right now, people present themselves as confident or not confident, but this is all determined by what they are thinking internally. And the way I like to dictate is think about when you learn how to drive a car. When you learn to drive a car, whether it's automatic or manual, you go through every single process. You learn about the clutch, the brake, the accelerator. It's something you learn. But after 20 years of driving, when you jump into a car, you don't have any conscious thought about that. You just off you go, you drive, you do your thing, and sometimes you have no idea how you actually got to where you wanted to go because you're like, oh, I'll actually get you. Now, think about that when it comes to language. Language, like you said, where does it start from? And if we had the answer, we'd be amazingly wealthy. There's no answer, but I think it comes down to where we start from. Where do we go from? It's the narrative that we're born into. It's the culture we're born into. It's the belief we're born into. Those are all some subconscious actions around us that we don't actually know that's happening. That then determines our conversation as we get older and older, and also it determines on the conversation that we have among ourselves. So I work with I am a master NLP practitioner, and the key word is, for those of you that don't know what an NLP practitioner is, it stands for neuro linguistic programming, and the key word is the linguistic bit there. So which is the language, the power of language, and in this practice here, we focus on the language that we use. Does someone use the word I should be healthy or I want to be healthy? I should go to this. I should, I would, I have to, I need to. It all tells a lot. So once we start ironing out where those words come from, then as you said before, you then can go to the next layer. So for example, if we just take a really great example, with the new year coming up in a few months' time, there's going to be lots of people that are going to have resolutions. I should exercise more. I should eat healthy. I should not I want, I should. And when we have a conversation, I should, why should you? Oh, I don't know why I should. There's I don't know why I should. Oh, because I don't know. Okay, cool. Versus I want to be healthy. Okay, cool. Why do you want to be healthy? Oh, because of X, Y, Z. But shoulds, coulds, woulds are a key indicator of where the mindset is at that point in time. Yeah, hopefully that answers that first opening stanza of our conversation.
Yes, definitely. The negativity, where does that come from?
Yeah.
Because, you're right, that we sort of take all these pressures on ourselves with the shoulds. Whereas, and we're not clear on why we should. So
Yeah.
where do we end up absorbing that negativity that becomes our internal talk?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. So where does the negativity come from? So you before we started having this conversation, you spoke about your young person having chickenpox. If you think about your daughter, 3 years old, does she have negative? Do you think she has negativity around her? Does she have negative thoughts? Do you think?
It's amazing. She does have negative thoughts, but I don't know where it's coming from.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, right? So if you think about the culturescape where she is, it might not be you. It might be the media.
Yes.
It might be things around her, that are saying that this is the norm, and it's a comparative. If you think about our negative thoughts, they're always a comparative. You have a negative thought about because you're comparing yourself to something, to someone, to some space internally. It's you never go
absolutely.
It's never negative. It's negative thought about yourself because of yourself. It's I am not wealthy enough. According to who? Oh, because my friend or boss has more money. It's always a comparative. And it's always a comparative negative thought that comes into place. That's I strongly think that's where. But where does that come from? That comes from the culture script that we're born into. That you always that we are encouraged as humans to always chase for something.
Yes,
chase the next
we are
thing.
competitive beings as humans.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, so it's a really fascinating area to think about it, because even the most successful people have doubts. They all have doubts. When I do a lot of reading of all these crazy authors and amazingly successful people, and every single one of them has doubts or has had a doubt. Where does that come from? Because I was listening to a podcast the other day with Mel Robbins, and it's really interesting listening to her because she was speaking about how nervous she was about starting a podcast. Think about her right now. She's an amazing speaker. She's so confident. And she was so nervous because she had internal dialogue comparing herself to other podcasters going, I know nothing, so I'm not going to be good enough. So someone who's so successful also has an internal dialogue because it's a comparative dialogue straight away.
Yes, and one thing, Prajesh, I feel that we even have comparisons there. If somebody is successful, we think that they do not have any self-doubts, or they don't have any negative internal talk, whereas that's not true. And that, I think, increases our negative talk to ourselves, because we start comparing there as well, that they are so confident, so everything must be sorted for them, but it's us who is suffering, and we probably, they don't even have such thoughts, and we do. And then we go into, it's like a quicksand, isn't it, that we keep going more and more into the negativity. So how do we break this cycle?
Yeah, so that I was hoping you could ask the question there, and I think this is what I'd like to do with a lot of my clients. So where does negative thoughts, where does it actually impact us? It impacts us on our day-to-day, basically everything. As you have negative thoughts, it affects your health, it affects the people that you're around, it affects your peers. I want you to think about the time, Khadija, the last time you were around a negative person. Just if everything they said to you was just complaining and down, how did you feel around that? How did you feel?
And one thing I would like to say here is that even when you're around somebody who's negative and you're trying to play a very positive role, you're saying all these motivational things and encouraging things, but the moment you sort of step away from them, you are left with some of that negativity inside you. It's they sort of, I don't know how much of your positivity has affected them, but their negativity certainly affects you.
100%. So, to all the listeners out there, I want you to just think about the last time you were around a negative.
Yes.
When I say negative, a negative colleague, a partner,
Yes.
whatever, the conversation, and just try and think about how it made you feel. And like you said, you're right. You 9 times out of 10, you are going to feel okay. I'm trying to pump them up and be energetic, but when you leave, you have
I
this
felt
negative
drained.
energy gone.
Yes.
Yeah, you feel so
Yes.
drained. You because it just rubs onto you. It just rubs onto you, and this is part of life, right? So how do we as a person look after ourselves? So this, I think the biggest tool that we can use is journaling. Now, journaling is a very, very powerful tool if we do it correctly. So what I mean by that, there's 2 ways we can journal. We can journal and talk about our day and talk about all the rubbish things that happened today, which is great. It needs to happen sometimes. You need to just write down your stuff. You can journal about all the things that happen in your life, which is great. That's one way of doing it. That's just a dump of stuff. But what I like to do is more intentional journaling. So you have your journal at the start of the day when you have your think, all right, cool, this is what I feel as soon as I get up. And then you have your journal at the end of the day. Now, this is what I would love. This is a practice I would love people to have. Is at the end of the day, you do your normal journaling, whatever your normal journaling is, whatever your practice is. But for the last 5 minutes or 10 minutes before you go to bed, I would love for you to write down 5 wins that you had that day. So 5 wins. So this is a tool I learned when I was doing my mindset training. And when I did my mindset training, it was really interesting because it comes from it comes from the world, the CrossFit world. So I'm going to explain a bit of CrossFit here for Khadija and for those who are listening. So CrossFit, for those of you that don't know, is a pretty crazy exercise regime, exercise sport, which basically tests your mental and your physical strength on so many levels. In this training that I did, it was based around the concept of how athletes in CrossFit, you're faced with this crazy amount. This task looks pretty ridiculous, but how it's not about the task; it's about the mindset that you have. It's tough, but if you let the task defeat your mind, you're not going to be able to do it. So then you think about the language that you're telling your mind. Hey, I can just do 1 rep at a time, or just 1 movement at a time. So in the world of CrossFit, there's a workout schedule called as many reps as possible. So they give you a time frame and they say, okay, cool, do as many reps as possible within the certain exercise. Now, if we shift that and go to, hey, let's change that to as many wins as possible. So what you do is, so we got 5 as many wins as possible in the day. And those 5 wins have got to be different every single day. So you can't say the same thing every day. So every night before you go to bed, you're going to write down those five wins. And what you notice very, very, very quickly is that it becomes harder and harder to think about those 5 wins. Initially, it's very easy. It's like driving a car. Very easy. Okay, cool. 5 wins. Oh, I drank water today. I drank this. I drank whatever. But after day 7, and you've gone through all the things that you're grateful for and that you're winning, you've actually got to think hard about the wins are. Now, why do I say that helps with internal talk? Because before you go to bed, that is forcing you to think of a positive. You're going to bed thinking of a positive. So you're not going to bed going, oh, I had a bad day. Even if you had a bad day, your last thought is going to be, hey, I'm telling myself this is the win that I had today. It could be minor. It could be something crazy minor, but it is a positive win. And that's just reframing your mind to go, hey, within all the darkness in the world, there's also wins that I have. And 5 is a good way to start. So that's my little takeaway for everyone listening. And also for yourself, Khadija, to try to practice.
Yes, I will definitely. So that brings me to the point that, a lot of times we do not celebrate our wins, and we don't realize, but it's very demotivating because we're never tapping ourselves on the back and, saying that, well, that's a job well done. We either keep focusing on our goal. Once we've achieved them, we find another goal and start working towards that, but we don't stop to actually, I think if we were to use this exercise, which, which creates motivation, accountability, gratitude, all in one, that would have a much more positive impact, perhaps at a subconscious level. So, we're going to bed with a much, and, then consequently waking up with a much positive mindset as well, because am I right, Prajesh, that your subconscious never sleeps, so your subconscious won't be
Yeah.
feeding on that negative stuff.
Yeah, I mean that's the truth. Because your subconscious doesn't know whether it's good or bad. Your subconscious just knows it's stuff. Whatever you tell it, it's just going to go, hey, this is not good or bad. It's just stuff. But then how it comes out in the real practical world, it's going to either affect you negatively or positively. So like you said, the subconscious is always there. It's always happening. And I guess we don't really know what happens when you go to sleep, but if you give it some, if you end the day with a positive affirmation, but it's not an affirmation, it's a reality because it's your win. It's not an affirmation that you're reading off YouTube, whatever. This is Khadijah's win for the day, and it's unique to you. So every when you wake up in the morning, you go, hey, this is mine, this is me. So the more you start feeding your subconscious this kind of language, the better the outcome is for you as a person.
Yes. So when we sort of write them down, do you suggest we should sort of read them out loud as well? Does that have any impact, or would writing be enough?
I think writing is key. When you start writing, I don't know if you journal, Khadija, but I think once you start writing, the power of writing it's just so powerful because it's intentional thought, and this is intentional. I mean, maybe you could say it out loud if you wanted to, but I think the practice of actually writing, because what I fear is when we start saying I'm just going to say it, then we're going to stop writing. We're going to stop writing, because we're humans. I'm going to find the easiest possible thing, and writing requires you to actually open up a book and go, okay, cool. But if you go,
yes, most of us are too lazy to just actually write.
Yeah. So when we go, I'm just going to say it today, and that say it, but you're not going to believe it. You're going to say, oh yeah, my 5 wins today. Well, oh yeah, I took a walk today, I drank some water. Okay, there's no intention. Done. I just a tick box exercise. But when you write it down, and then what you do is we have a separate journal just for your 5 wins. At the end of a month or 2 months, you have a read and go, wow, actually, look at all my wins. When you have a down day,
that
you go,
must
well,
act really powerful motivator, instead of getting a book with full of motivation quotes, which is a great thing to do. I think if you have your own wins, that would be much more powerful. So
I mean, I've seen it work with my clients that I work with, where that's a simple tool that we give, and after 6 months, the whole mind is just reframed, because it goes back to what you say paves your way, because it's your own dialogue that you're speaking to yourself. Initially when we start journaling, because no one teaches how to journal. There's no right or wrong way to journal. We know sometimes it's just a dump, sometimes affirmation, sometimes it is what it is. But if we have an intentional, okay, this is what my journaling is going to be, it's gonna work for you. Well, I think it does.
Yes, so wrapping up, I have this one question that should be an ideal exercise before we go to bed. And is there something that we can do when we wake up to put ourselves in a, if, for instance, we were unable to do this exercise at night, and we're up with a lot of negativity. First thing in the morning, there's a lot of people are not in a good mood either. Because sometimes you haven't had enough sleep, or one reason or the other, or you have a really busy day to look ahead to. So how do you sort of neutralize yourself? Is there a key, waking up perhaps earlier, or how do we do that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always the advocate of waking up early, but that's not for everybody given the situation. But what you said before is really, really, really just important, because you said some people wake up in the morning thinking about the busy day they have, or they haven't had a good night's sleep, and they're focusing on the future, or they're focusing on the past, and they're not focusing on the present. So my advice is, depending on whatever situation is in the morning, when you get up, just focus on the present right now. When you get out of bed, just focus on that moment there and just ground yourself in that moment there. Don't worry about what's happening in 5 minutes time or 10 minutes time, or what happened last night. This is a new day for you to start whatever way you want, and the best way to start is just to grateful. Hey, glad to be out of bed today. or glad to be awake, whatever your affirmation is, and just accept that moment there. Because
Yes.
it all starts, like you said, in the morning from what you say, the minute you get up in the morning.
Absolutely, exactly. It, sets the tone for the day. And like having another day is a blessing in itself. So if we
Yeah,
wake up with this thought that, it's another beautiful day, then our mind would be looking at the more beautiful things, and, be more sort of what do you say, more mindful or more cognizant of the positivity around us, as opposed to if we just get up in a rushed state and then we're
yeah,
rushing through the day. So, we haven't given ourselves that time, as you said, the
yeah,
time to be mindful and present in the moment and be grateful for it.
yeah. And I have to acknowledge, I know some people have not amazing living situations, and it might be tough for them to think about
Yes.
it this way here. And we have to
Yes.
acknowledge that there. And even in the toughest of times, I think it's just important just to find one bit of positivity, whatever it is. I can't tell you, I can't say, hey, it's awesome to be alive today if you're living in a war-torn country and you're fearing for your life. So whatever the positivity is for you in that moment in time, you have to find it for yourself. Because when it goes back to you owning it, as opposed
Mm.
to you being told by someone else, it takes in a whole different ball game. It's got to come from you. It's got to come from you, is what I
Absolutely.
think. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And the other things, I like, is when we're focusing on the negative thoughts, there's a thing that I like to say is, what do we tell ourselves when we have these big things happening or negativity? The question I think you should put ourselves: am I focused on what I can control or what I can't control? So when you ask
Mm.
yourself that question, what am I focusing on in this every situation? Am
Mm.
I focusing on what I can control or what I can't control? And I
Mm.
bet you 9 times out of 10, the answer is it's on what I can't control.
Yes, yes, our environment plays a pivotal role, and we feel that we can control our environment at times, but
Yeah,
that's one thing we just can't. And
yeah,
it is affecting our decisions, it is affecting our moods, and, it is affecting our life. But we have to learn, I guess, to be at peace with our environment and things we can't
yeah.
change.
Yeah, and just focus on and tell yourself, okay, cool, I can't, and you have to acknowledge that fact. And this is the hard thing, because we don't like to acknowledge the fact, hey, I actually can't control what Khadija thinks. I can't control that.
Yes.
So am I going to waste my time? And it's easier to say now, but am I going to waste myself worrying about what she's going to say about X, Y, Z? I can't control that. I can only control, number one, how I react to what she
Our
says.
reaction. Yes.
Exactly. Or number two, if I can actually, or maybe she doesn't even care. Maybe she's not even in this whole conversation. It's just living in my head. So, it's a tough one. But I think if you ask yourself the question, what are you actually focused on? It'll help you with your dialogue as well.
Yes, what are you focused on? That will help us actually be mindful of what we're saying, and
Yeah.
what we say is actually paving the way for us. So thank you
Yeah.
so much
No
for
worries.
being here.
No worries. Can I
Yes,
just have one more exercise for our listeners out there? I'd
yes,
love
yes.
that our listeners out there, so we have the one exercise which I encourage you all to do, which is the 5 wins a day. The other exercise I would love you all to do is to do intentional listening to yourself. So whatever scenario you're in,
Mm,
I'll just love you
mm,
for maybe, whether it's with your loved ones, or whether it's at a workplace, or wherever it is.
mm,
In the 5 minute conversation that you're having with this person, I just want you to think about the words that you were saying, and think about if they are future focused, past focused, or present focused. And
mm,
also, I want you to think about whether you've given them a positive meaning or a negative meaning in your
mm.
world. And I just want you to have awareness of the words that you say, and see how things are changing when you start becoming aware of the words that you're actually verbalizing out there as well.
Absolutely. That's very important, I think. Being intentional to our inner, intentionally hearing ourselves out. And that is one thing we totally neglect. I think that is where all the negativity builds up. And,
Yeah,
then
certainly.
comes off as, when we're in moments of silence, comes off as real negative talk, because we didn't check ourselves then when we should have, actually. So thank you
Totally.
so much for this, Prajesh.
No worries. No worries.
Um,
Thank you for
yeah.
having me.
Yes, thank you so much. For those of you who are watching, please feel free to leave any comments if you're watching it at your own time. And Prajesh and I will get back to them. If you want to connect with Prajesh, you can do that through Grit. You can find him on LinkedIn, and he has a fabulous Instagram page where he does his Insta lives as well. So do follow and like and share with others whatever value you've gotten here. So thank you so much and have a lovely midweek. Good evening to you, Prajesh. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, bye everybody. Thank you wherever in the
Thank
world. Thank you
you.
for listening in. Bye.
Bye.